When it comes to being a young man making money, I think it's more important not to focus on the money, but the system that gets him the money. So I was recently asked on a podcast, they said, Justin, what should I do to get my first 100 grand? And I said to them, my friend, that is the wrong question. The right question is, how can I build a system that will spit me out 100 grand a month? And so for me personally, when I was a young man, I was always thinking in that way. It's like, man, if I could just get $10,000 saved up, I could do this X, Y, Z. When really it should have been, if I can put a system in place that I can do every day, I'll be making 10, 20, 30,000 a month. And focusing on the actual system, and Nick Saban would call it the process. Do you know who Nick Saban is?
No.
He's an Alabama football coach, but he keeps winning national championships year after year after year with new players and new coaches because he works on that process so much. He messes with the gears of his business that it spits out winning results every time. So really, if a young man is trying to get to money, he needs to get to 30,000 feet and be able to look at that business and all the pieces and parts that make that system work in order to spit out the result, because the money is just simply the result of something that's previously been done. So managing the gears and the systems in the business is what will give you the result of money. And then everything else is just accounting, really. So that's what I'll tell a young man, is to focus on learning how to build systems and that will pay you no matter what you do. Building systems in a business, whether that's around people or what have you, is definitely the best way.
Does it matter the industry and like the field they're going into? Like if
I genuinely think you could take two entrepreneurs and put one in an online tech subscription-based business and put one in, let's say, trucking. And this guy is going to look like Steve fucking Jobs. And this guy is probably not going to do as well. They could be the same entrepreneur, could be the same person. So yeah, I do think the business model has a lot to do with it. Looking back, I didn't pick the best business model, but it was the only consciousness I had. It was the only thing I knew to do. Maybe if I'd have been born here in LA, I might have wanted to be a director. I might have saw an opportunity in the movie business. So a lot of times it's your consciousness. But one thing I would say is that generally now, I'm not interested in anything that you eat what you kill. You hunt and you get paid. You hunt and you get paid. Now I want a return on investment of my time, and I don't want it to continue to pay me. So real estate's a great example of that. I buy a big apartment building. There's a lot of work. There's a system to make that happen, right? I buy the property, but now it pays me forever. Whereas in construction, I built a system to win projects, but I do that one project and then I'm right back out hunting. Whereas in real estate, it pays me forever. I made a tweet earlier this year. I said that real estate is the OG of the subscription-based model, and it's completely true. And it comes with depreciation and everything else. So.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's something I'm trying to build in my field. So as a director, you work kind of the same way. Like you do work, you try to get a project.
You need royalty projects, right?
Yes, I need projects that now as a producer, I'm in a different position, and now. In my future, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into distribution. So as a producer, when I did my first movie that got distribution and got into Apple TV, as an artist and as a filmmaker, I was like, I made it. It was very difficult. It's almost like you building your first big building. Right. It took me 2 years to build that movie. I did it on nights and weekends. I would wake up at 5 a.m, work on that movie. Then I was working on a TV show for Apple TV at the time, do a full day, 12 hours there, come back home, do a little bit more work on my movie. And then when I finished it and got distribution, the day the agent called me and said, the movie's going on Apple TV, it's live right now.
Yeah.
Dude, I got teary eyes. I was driving, we were scouting a location. I got teary eyed and I feel wow, I made something amazing. But I do not control the distribution for that movie. The platform is taking a 30% cut. Then the agency is taking another cut. So I'm making 25 cents on the dollar on that deal. I'm still making money. And if that movie blows up in 2 years, I could make $5 million or I could make zero money. It's in a way it's up to me, but I'm not controlling every step of the process. And that's what I want to get into in my future. I want to have not one movie that I make and it takes me 2 years. I want to go and find 10 directors, acquire their movies, and it's almost like you going and acquiring property. But I think the hard part is, as a young guy, like the way that I think and that I am right now is very different to when I came right out of film school. I just needed to put like food on the table. I was married. I had 2 kids. I wanted to do all of these businesses and real estate. And like, I've always been business minded, but it's very difficult. So what would you say to that guy that, you know, is 24 and he needs to bring in some money and he can't think about how can I make a deal that is going to make me money like passively. How can I bring money right now?
Yeah, for sure. So what you went through is something that I went through in construction. Is I realized where I was in the food chain. You were way low in the food chain right there. That's okay. I was low in the food chain when I was building metal buildings, because you have to understand there is the owner at the very, very top, or the investor, and then they hire an architect, and then the architect hires a contractor, a general contractor. Then I was a subcontractor. So I was way down the food chain myself. What you realize in that moment is that, hey, I need to go up the food chain and hire a level of these guys that were doing what I'm doing and create systems to be spitting out money all the time. And the terms of your agreement will probably give you the royalties in the end. So a lot of times in business, if you find that you're passionate about something or you have a goal and you want to go into an industry, understand where you are in the food chain, accept and take the money. I still make a lot of money in construction, a large amount of money. And I take that money, I make it, I try to protect it from taxes legally only, and then I try to make it grow by putting it into real estate. So if I were an individual and I made a movie and I understood where I was in the food chain, much like you did, you've already done this, you've already identified this pattern, I would take the money and then go put it into something that'll pay me forever, and do my best to be able to do that. And another thing you'll be able to do with that is once you start buying equipment and everything, you're making this residual money, but you get to depreciate the equipment and everything against the money that you're making. Whereas in your situation before, when you made that quick lick, you really didn't have a lot of places to put it. Like for me, I could depreciate trucks and things like that in the business, but those aren't going to put an impact in if you're making millions of dollars of profit a year. So for a young man, I would say that take advantage of the time where you have unicorn blood and you're willing to work 18 hours a day and you can run through a wall and you don't even need to sleep and you can cut your arm off and it would grow back. You know what it's like to be a very young man.
Yeah.
I very much remember that. And accept where you are. That's okay. But understand where you are in the food chain and what it would take to get yourself in a position where you would get a return on investment on everything you do for as long as possible. And I think when you're paying attention to a model, that's important. And then also I would tell a young man that if you think you want to go into industry, pick the guy you think you want to be when you grow up and take a very deep, close look at his life, not only from a work perspective, but a personal perspective. What kind of health is he in? Is he getting to spend time with his family? Does he have true freedom? What's important to you on that path? Because I can almost guarantee you that it makes more sense to assume that you're not special and assume that whatever that man or group of men that are doing what you want to do are doing, that you are not going to be able to put a trick on the game in a way that would not leave you in the same position that they're in. So take a hard look at your mentor's life. Take a hard look at his workload. Take a hard look at his stress level, his personal life. Does he get to leave whenever he wants? And then ask yourself the question, do I want to work 10, 15 years to put myself in his shoes, or will I be stuck when I get there? So very important things to consider.
Yeah, I think everything that you're touching on is probably the basis of everything, because if you don't know where you're going, the actions that you're taking like make no sense.
A lot of people end up painting a prison around themselves. I see it all the time, man. You got business owners, man. They think they want to own a business. Some of the most successful people in the world are employees. You know, entrepreneurship got super, super glamorized, you know, I guess back 10, 15, 20 years ago, maybe. And now everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, man. But I think you can, if you get in there and you become really, really valuable to somebody, you'll probably end up on average making more money as an employee than you would an entrepreneur. I'm not trying to distress anybody from being an entrepreneur.
How would you measure that, or what can someone do to realize whether they can do that or not?
I think they got to get it out their system, and then they just have to be truthful with themselves. If they go to quit, they're okay and you're okay with it, then maybe it's not for you. But that doesn't mean that you can't go play the B-roll somewhere and make a bunch of money. Sometimes it's just the pressure of like your whole life is on the line and your identity's on the line. Some people work better as employees. I know I have people that probably wouldn't want to own the businesses that I own, but they're very, very good with stress inside the business, because at the end of the day, it is my responsibility to make sure the company performs. And for that reason, they have the freedom to use that extra hardware to really push hard for me. And they get compensated very well. And I compensate them with no ceilings on their bonuses. So in a lot of ways, they have a business inside of my business. And that's ultimately always my goal for an employee, is try to create a way where they can take ownership in the business, and that there's no cap on the amount of money they can make, because I feel like ultimately that would demotivate me. So why not amplify their motivation and their fire and their drive and their buy-in by creating a bonus structure that doesn't have a ceiling on it? Go, bro, I hope I pay you $250,000. I hope I pay you $250,000 this year.
Yeah, that's what I love about capitalism, man.
Yeah, bro, I hope I do, because if I pay you that, I know what I made. Mm-hmm. And that's good for everybody. And I think that being a good boss is setting people up to be graceful, number one, based off of whatever talents that God gave them. I do think that there's certain positions in companies that take certain type of personalities or certain type of attitudes or certain type of age. I even think about man, woman, what age, what period are they at in their life? I think about all those things when hiring. And I think one gift that I truly have now that took me a long time to get to is really understanding how to place people to be graceful, and then empower them to do their job and create a structure in which they can get excited about coming to work, because they know that if they hustle and they bang that day, their life is just going to get better because I'm not capping their pay. So there's a lot to think about when it comes to entrepreneurship. There's, like me and Tom talked about today, I mean, you have to be able to solve all the problems in the world, be a good leader, be graceful when other people are not, and set people up for success. So it's not an easy thing to do. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to be good in business if you don't own a business. Maybe you just need to have a position in somebody else's business with no ceilings, and you can go to the moon, or take that company where they're trying to go. I feel like good bosses recognize that.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this interview, check out this other one, and I'm pretty sure you're going to like it. I'll see you on the next one.